Hey guys, welcome back to the next episode of Versus, where this time I'm going to take a look at two of the same albums, Master of Puppets and Rust in Peace. Both thrash masterpieces. And I'm going to give a little bit of background information on each one, and then I'll give my opinion, and as always, I want to see what you guys think in the comment section below. So, just give me a shout out, tell me what you think. And even if you don't agree with my opinion, that's cool. So, start off, Master of Puppets, thrash metal fucking masterpiece. Amazing album, top to bottom, start to finish, production, vocals, bass, double bass. This is the epitome of a perfect album right here. And, 8 tracks, one of them being an instrumental, awesome instrumental, and a lot of heaviness is to be found on this album. So, that being said, this was kind of a turning point for the band. This was known to many people as their peak, where this is their best album, and after that, they just kind of started to waver off and or sell out in the late 90s to early 90s. Mid 90s, that's what I meant. Mid 90s, so like 1996. But this is before all that. This is before even Cliff Burton, who died in a bus accident in 1986. Shortly after the release of this album, this was recorded before his death, and this is, his last album with the band. Ironically, their best. In my mind, Cliff Burton is the best bassist to have ever lived. He's a legend, he's a god, there's no one that can top him. There's no one that can be better than him, in my mind. So, already, this album has a lot going for it, and it was hyped up as shit back in the day. They were playing songs off of it in 1985. They were playing Disposable Heroes and the title track at live concerts, and people were just hyped for this album. They knew it was going to be, even better than Ride the Lightning, which was already a fan favorite. So, and as well as Kill 'Em All. So people were arguing whether or not, which one was better. So I say Ride the Lightning personally, but Master of Puppets beats them all in my mind for Metallica. Like I said, this was a turning point for the band. This was their peak, and after this album, they just kind of, like I said, it was a hard time for the band, and Cliff Burton dying took its toll, and they were known as Alcoholica because they would drink so much and just get totally and completely shit-faced at every concert, at every waking moment. They would party, and they were hurting inside, practically. So they recorded And Justice for All with their new bassist, Jason Newsted, who just actually released an album, an EP this year, Metal, and I reviewed that as well, so that's pretty cool. Master of Puppets, like I said, I've already discussed it in depth in my review for it, in my classics section. Awesome album. Now moving on, 4 years later, this little guy comes out, this big beast of an album. I'm sorry, little guy. That's kind of derogatory towards the awesomeness that is this album. This is Rust in fucking Peace right here. And as always, it has Vic Rattlehead, which is Dave Mustaine's logo, or Megadeth's kind of mascot. And that's something Metallica doesn't have as a mascot, so that's pretty cool already. So, Rust in Peace has a lot of killer songs in it, a lot of staples that are still in the set list today, to this day. But it took them 4 years to record a better album, or a almost as good album as Master of Puppets. So they came out with Peace Sells But Who's Buying. That was a good one, and it had a lot of ferocious intensity in it. But there was a lot, I don't know, the production wasn't as good as Master of Puppets, at least for me. So a lot of times this album and Rust and Peace Sells But Who's Buying go hand in hand because they're both amazing thrash metal masterpieces, but I don't know. I kind of like Rust in Peace a little bit more, just a little bit more, and that's really hard because when I first listened to Peace Sells, oh my god. Anyways, on to the review. onto the versus episode. And Holy Wars, The Punishment Due, Hangar 18, Take No Prisoners, Five Magics, Tornado of Souls, and the title track. Now that's a good chunk of this album. One could say it's like 7/8 of the album. And of course Lucretia. That'd be like 7/8. But a good portion of this album are just thrash metal amazing masterpieces that are to this day played at every single Megadeth show, with the exception of the title track, which they only played like 3 years ago when they did the Rust in Peace live tour. So, what makes this album so good? Well, there's a lot of backstory on this album that I could get into. This is the first album with a stable Megadeth lineup, their longest lineup actually, and it includes the addition of Nick Menza on drums and Marty Friedman on guitar, which I still to this day wish they would have kept, because some of my favorite albums are their 90s works, which include Countdown to Extinction, Euthanasia, and, you know, even Cryptic Writings had its moments. It wasn't that bad of an album, but it just wasn't that good. Like, through and through anyways. So, Rust in Peace, though, is the album that started it all for the 90s Megadeth, and it was really their last intense, powerful, fast, and technical album that they had until Endgame, or at least until, what was that one? The System Has Failed, actually. But I don't know if that one can really be included or counted as a Megadeth album because it was meant to be Dave's solo project that never really got off the ground. So, like I said, only album with Marty Friedman that has any technicality to it, so really showcases what the new guitarist at the time, Marty Friedman, can do, and the drummer, Nick Menza. Amazing album. Holy Wars, The Punishment Due is probably one of my favorite Megadeth songs, you know, along with Tornado of Souls. Just amazing riffs, awesome structure, structurally sound album. Just amazing album. And much like Master of Puppets here was a turning point for Metallica, Rust in Peace is also a turning point for Megadeth, because it's, you know, it's the start of a new era. It's the 90s, you know, and they've got a completely new band, practically. All of Megadeth's 80s material, the production value on it wasn't that good, because to be honest, I mean, they were spending all their money on booze, women, drugs, all that stuff, but still amazing thrash metal masterpieces, all in the 80s. They just didn't have that good a production, which is okay, because, you know, we now have the technology to remaster certain albums, you know, albeit people don't really do it very well, but still, you know. Very good albums, sound structurally, amazing record, and Master of Puppets versus Rust in Peace. Which one's better? And the verdict for me is, obviously, I would really, you know, this is a really, really hard one for me because I love both albums, start to finish, but I would have to go with Master of Puppets because, as I said in my review of it, it is a perfect album. It is the epitome of a perfect album, and there's really no way that any other album would ever touch it, well, in my mind at least. So I love it from start to finish. There are a few problems that I have with Rust in Peace because it's really hard to get a good version of Rust in Peace because some of the remastered tracks have different vocals on them. Some of them I like better. Some of them I don't. So, you know, as I have right here is a burned copy of it. And, well, you know, it's impossible to get the right version of every single song because I personally like different ones, like Take No Prisoners and the title track. Most people enjoy the original vocal take on Take No Prisoners. I actually prefer the new one for some reason. Maybe it's because I heard the new one first, but either way, you know, it's really hard to get every single song, you know, the way you want it because some are better remastered, others are better not remastered. You know, so, and some of them sound just, you know, weird altogether with the master, I guess. But Master of Puppets has yet to be remastered, so it's still amazing production even for today's standards. That it just tells you how much this album has aged and how well it's aged. So it's just, it still sounds heavy. It still has that substance to it. And you know, I've got to love it, you know. I'll probably do a classic review of Rust in Peace maybe in a few days or so, but for now, I got to say Master of Puppets is a, you know, just it has the edge in this one for me at least. But hey, what do I know? I want to know what you guys think. Subscribe and comment on my videos if you like what I produce, if you like what I have. Like me on Facebook if you want, you know, constant updates on what I'm up to and stuff as pertaining to my channel. So basically, that's really all I have. I want to know what you guys think. So, you know, what is it for you guys? Master of Puppets or Rust in Peace? They're both great, stellar albums, and you know, I gave you guys what I think. So, what do you think? This is Midnight Strike 3625. Keep calm and rock on.